Shawn. How's
Hey,
it going?
I'm good. How's it going to you?
It's going great. So
Not
I think
exhausted?
it's Tuesday, so it's a good day. So for those that don't know you, give us a very quick intro to who you are and your role in the industry, because that's the most important thing.
Hi, my name is Shawn Cheng. I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. I'm currently project manager at MCI Group. So we are a third-party agency that we do all sort of different projects and events. And I'm also very involved with industry association like PCMA, MPI for sake, and my passion is event technology and event design, and that's how me and Dahlia uh, became good friends. And so when Dahlia asks, I answer. I'll do whatever she say.
Aw. We're going to dive into a couple of questions. And so the first one is, name 3 top challenges that you see that event professionals are facing in the 2020s, not necessarily this year, but going forward a decade.
Well, I mean, but we definitely need to address the elephant in the room first. I think the top challenge is the pandemic we're all living in, and I think what pandemic really brought to us as the event profession is the extreme situation that we are in both personally and professionally, and I think we already see a lot of struggle from event professions to not only handle this ourselves, but also how can you maintain a calm and guided force, which we used to be to our client. So I think that is definitely one of the biggest challenge to still be able to function. I think that is the big one.
Like to be that anchor for
Yeah,
event planners. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Be the anchor.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people are sort of figuring out that that's a different skill set and maybe some, softer traits that you would need. Communication becomes key, project management becomes key, being the therapist. I sort of dubbed myself a therapist in the last couple of months for many. The ugly crying is real, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is you need to be the therapist, but you also need therapist at the same time. And I just like I think we all proud ourselves like how we are able to handle pressure under extreme situation. But I think this year just proved that we don't know what we are talking about.
Yeah, well, it's the uncertainty, but with all the chaos that we're in, in order to exploit the chaos, like Jeremy Gucci, an author out of Canada, actually says there are new opportunities. So, what do you see are like new opportunities for event organizers to embrace in the 2020s?
I actually think there are two opportunities we are facing right now, and like at least I think I encourage everyone to actually recognizing and take benefit of it. One is we've been forcing to quickly adapting into the virtual world, which means I'm not saying virtual will replace where we are originally. It will never replace, but it's always like a wild west for event professional that we know it's there and we know there are a lot of potential, but it's always we'll deal with that later. You will come around later sometimes in the future, and where the future is right now, and we've been throwing into that space just in no way that we can imagine about it. So this is actually a good opportunity because this is how now we are. It's like now we've been thrown into Australia in the 17th century, and let's make the good out of it, right? I think another thing is actually, and that kind of circle back to what the anchor conversation we're talking about earlier is, because what I found actually, many of our clients right now are looking at us in a more heavy way. Traditionally they were looking at us as a guidance for sure. They depending on our expertise to execute whatever they want to they have in their place. But so many times, and it's not anyone's fault, but we just super easy to fall onto to just a service provider, and because that was what even professional was before. But what this year really show is the client is in a loss in a way that they actually looking at us to give them guideline. And I think, I'm not sure about you guys, but like for me is this year is I probably have more strategy conversation with any of my client in my entire career, which is we can ever dream of at the beginning, because we all know we can't.
You're having bigger conversations.
Yeah, we all know we are big picture person. That's what event professional are.
Yeah.
But we just never really be on that table with the client. I feel this year is actually now we are, and so it's an opportunity, but it's also a challenge. I know, and
Definitely
we just need to make sure that we stay on the table.
Yeah. So basically, you know, part of that strategy conversation, or what's your new business model, Mr. or Mrs. Event Organizer, comes the conversation about event technology. And so what do you, if you flip it, what do you think are the challenges of to event technology companies in the 2020s going forward?
Funny enough, I think the biggest challenge the especially event technology company this year is to find that balance of do it all and do it good. Or in other words is how to not be greedy. So
not to be like, oh, I can serve everybody and I can do everything for you, even coffee in the morning type of service.
Yeah. And there are some companies are able to do that. Don't get me wrong. And you know, there are companies like, for example, the perfect example was I don't know, we can do name dropping here, but you know, Hopping was got a serious investment, and they are a perfect example of they can do a lot of things, and they are kind of those all-in-one virtual platform that many of the event professionals dream of. But I also see a lot of companies, for example, like Slido, which is for the past few years, they only focusing on one thing, which is to make live polling and Q&A better. And they are continuing to doing that. And they had a breakthrough just a couple of weeks ago, which is now they can be embedded into PowerPoint, which is huge. You know, like I think for event tech company, it's a question you need to ask your core is why you develop your product and how do you want to grow? This year is like a goal. It's like you're finding a gold mine, right? For event technology company, suddenly everyone is looking at you, and yes, and everyone is actually asking you to do everything. To be fair, but the reality is, just show you, right? Do you really want to do that, or is that really what benefit for your client to you? Yeah. So I think that is kind of the big challenge is to. I think it's also keep back into the anchor conversation is just make sure that you don't lose sight of what the value proposition that you're bringing.
Well, those are two really good questions that event organizers should ask event tech companies when vetting them out. So yeah. What do you want to be? What's your roadmap? What do you want to focus on, et cetera? So that they know exactly what the event tech company has planned. To a point where I tell our clients, even ask them, are you looking at an exit strategy? Are you going to be part of like a community brands so that they have some sort of timeline of, you know, in the end, are they going to be under an umbrella? Are they thinking of, you know, more integrations? That's also a roadmap type of question. Or are they just going to be laser focused on their service and that's it kind of thing, like a Slido, for example, versus other tech companies. So I think that's valid as well. So how can event professionals think or do different in the 2020s? From a perspective of like, from your perspective, from a meeting management perspective, how can they get out of their own way or do things differently?
But that's a great question, and I don't know whether this is the right. I don't think there's the right answer for this. But for me, I will say is we need to be more open-minded and to have better understand of what other industry are doing, especially the broadcasting and filming industry. Because I think what teach us this year and looking at what the future forecast is going to look like is. No matter what this pandemic, when going to end and when we will go back to normal, virtual event is here to stay. And we should actually not call them virtual event. It's actually a virtual experience. And virtual experience, people are craving for that we need to learn what's the behavior for that. We need to learn what will make people enjoy that experience virtually. It's going to be very different that we used to when it's an in-person event experience. And those are something we need to ask ourselves. Like I always give if people ask me, well, so what can I do? I always give them the suggestion is to go watch a few episodes of The Voice. Because I keep coming back to this idea. I think The Voice is that perfect example of what the future hybrid event going to look like. Is you have the in-person audience, not right now, but like they used to do. But then how you can continue to create such an engaging experience during that hour or 2 hour when you are watching them. And that's the reality we are going to face in the future is no matter how big of
our own TV series, right?
Yeah, no matter how big of your event size, whether that's a couple hundred, couple thousand originally, you're going to double or triple that size in the future because most of your audience actually going to be a virtual audience that you don't.
But that's because you're doubling and tripling because you're giving a different experience, and then your content is entertainment.
Exactly, and you should make sure you are not they should be equally important with your in-person audience, and that's what we should looking into, like make sure both get the benefit out of it.
Well, you just answered so you leapfrogged my question and sort of answered, like actually you nailed it, what events are going to look like in the 2020s. But other than that, what is one big Shawn insight or like crystal ball style? What do you think is going to happen within our industry or the MICE industry in the 2020s?
In the 2020s, so you mean for the next month?
No. No.
But I mean, like, looking ahead, I think what we're gonna see is that the cross. I think that my big insight I feel is we're gonna see a lot of the cross sector things happening. We're gonna see a lot of corporate planner who used to very good at producing amazing shows that they are going to cross over into maybe the association or actually tapping into a solely virtual world. But you're also going to see a lot of the association planner or agency planner who used to really good at managing projects that kind of cross over into some of different specific sector that they may be not taking on the creative role, but they are taking on the project manager role because there's kind of like I definitely see that, especially this year, that personally been working with different project and with actually different team that the need for both sides is actually, it used to be can somehow separate them a little bit. Corporate planner is doing your own thing, medical planner doing your own thing, association planner doing your own thing. You're all planner, but you are different type of planner. But I think right now we're going to see a lot of the blends coming into place. And honestly, it's actually not a bad thing because I think that also gives us a better power in terms for showing us to the outside world, if I can say that value of us that able to bring to the table.
No, that's perfect. Well, Shawn, thank you so much.